Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm Maya with TMC for Seniors, and today we are going to be talking about simple exercises to keep your heart strong. I have Mike Urquhart here with us. He is an exercise physiologist. He comes and presents to us quite often. We love having you here, Mike. He is with our TMC Cardiac Rehabilitation program, and so he's the perfect person to ask about all your questions about exercise and your heart. So welcome, Mike.
Hello, Maya. Thanks for inviting me here again. I love doing this, and I love talking about exercise. I love talking about cardiac rehab, everything. So it's great to be here. Thank you.
Great. So we are Mike's got a presentation for you this morning, but if you have questions, you may be watching us this morning on either our YouTube page or one of our Facebook pages. Please leave any questions for us in the comments, and Mike will be happy to answer those afterwards. So Mike, I'm going to go ahead and let you go ahead and present.
All right. Excellent. Thank you. So this presentation is really about simple exercises to keep your heart strong. Now, I'm gonna say it this way. We all know that exercise is good, and we all know that we probably should be exercising. But the question arises, why are we exercising? And I'm going to try to answer this by one little phrase, and that phrase is HDL, high density lipoproteins. High density lipoproteins, it's a particle that's found in your blood that circulates throughout your whole circulatory system. And what it does, it transports unused metabolic products like unused cholesterol, unused triglycerides back to your liver for processing. And so HDL is basically cardioprotective. The higher amounts of HDL that you have in your blood, the better off your heart's going to be, just because it helps prevent the process known as, or it slows down the process of atherosclerosis, which also is known as plaque buildup, which causes the blockages in your arteries that, eventually causes those things that we get called angina, causes things like heart attacks, for that matter. Let's just go ahead and say heart attacks. And so by increasing the amount of HDL in your blood, it kind of levels that balance with LDL. And LDL is that vessel that transports cholesterol, which is in our body naturally, and transports the fatty acids to the working muscles of our body. Now, our muscles, they need triglycerides, but if there's too much of it, that's what causes that plaque buildup. And so what HDL does, HDL actually picks up that unused cholesterol, that unused triglyceride, and takes it back to the heart. Now, how can you increase that HDL, or that high density lipoprotein? Well, there are a couple of different ways to do it. One is by losing weight. The other is by exercising. And the more you exercise, it's been shown, the higher levels of HDL you have in your blood. Basically, you want to reach almost a 1-to-1 ratio of LDL to HDL in your blood. Going back a little bit more, LDL is sometimes what's called your bad cholesterol, and HDL is your good cholesterol. Now, how they got those terms bad and good, I'll never know. But HDL and LDL, they're not cholesterol at all. They're actually just vessels that carry cholesterol and triglycerides either to your working muscles or to your liver. LDL carries it to your working muscles, and HDL takes it back to your liver for processing, reprocessing, and eventually elimination. So that's why we want to increase those levels of HDL. Now, perfect. So what types of exercises do we want to do? Well, I wish I could tell you exactly what exercise to do, but there are a thousand, probably a million different exercises you could do. And I know we are living in a time of COVID where there's that idea of staying indoors, probably social distancing, not going to a gym. Well, believe it or not, most of the exercises that you can do, it does not require going to the gym. A lot of the exercises you can do in your home. And some of those exercises are as simple as body weight exercises, where you're doing push-ups or crunches, or you're just walking in place. You're doing calisthenics. I don't know if you remember that word calisthenics, but it's kind of an old word for body exercise or body weight resistance exercise. And they involve things like jumping jacks. They involve things like knee bends. They involve things like just simple stretches. Those are calisthenics. And what those do, they actually increase those levels of HDL. And the reason why you get an increase in those HDL is because there's more lipid and triglycerides and cholesterol going to the muscles, that more needs to go back to the liver as well for reprocessing. And so that tells your body to increase those levels of HDL, or the high density lipoproteins. So the best exercise, I wish I could tell you the best exercise. The best exercise for me is cycling. I'd love to ride my bike, but for others that don't have a bike, or you can't ride a bike, walking, swimming, hiking, dancing, almost any one of those exercises would be great. I prefer the steady state aerobic activities like cycling, and these steady state activities are done at a moderate intensity for times in somewhere around 20 to 30 minutes, but can extend all the way up to an hour, maybe even 2 hours as well. But whatever exercise you choose, make sure you are very consistent with it. You know, if you just do it once a week, it's great that you're out there that one time a week, but try to do it at least twice, maybe even 3 times a week for 20 to 30 minutes. Now, the other types of exercises that you can do are resistance exercises. And these exercises involve your muscles to produce a force throughout a range of motion. Things like weightlifting, things like utilizing resistance bands, even to just to an extent, body weight exercises, like I mentioned earlier, something like push-ups or crunches. Squats or lunges are great resistance exercises too. Now, some of those exercises involve a lot of flexibility too. And as we've talked about before in previous talks, flexibility, that's key to help reducing your chance of injury, along with balance exercises. So, I mean, if you combine a lot of the talks that I've done in the past with keeping your heart strong, all of those talks and all of those exercises are all perfect for keeping your heart strong. And that's why we exercise, is to keep our heart strong. If you look on this slide right here, I know you're looking at a party. Probably these people aren't being very social distant, but what I'm trying to emphasize here are the simple exercises: walking, swimming, even playing with children in water, or just out leisurely riding your bike. That's all great exercise. And I tell you what, the picture where it shows everybody dancing, when was the last time you went dancing? Do you need to be in a crowd like that to go dancing? No, you don't. Turn on your music in your house, dance around the floor. That is probably some of the best exercise that's out there. I mean, just stuff that you do, and make sure you are having fun. Make sure you are enjoying your life while you do these types of exercises. And I'll tell you, if you're doing an exercise and you don't like to do it, the chances of you coming back doing that exercise again is very minimal. So find an exercise that you like to do. Think back, maybe years ago, an exercise you like to do, and try that exercise. And if you can't go back to that exercise, think of something new. Maybe something a friend suggests. but exercise is key in raising HDL. And HDL is that simple blood particle that transports unused cholesterol and unused fatty acids back to the liver for processing. And remember, it's that unused cholesterol, it's that unused fatty acid that forms plaque within your arteries, leading to atherosclerosis, leading to heart disease, or what we call coronary artery disease. And coronary artery disease ends up in a couple of different ways: a stent or open heart surgery with coronary artery bypass grafts. It's something that we really want to try to avoid, and the best way to do it is walking, is exercise, is doing some sort of activity that you enjoy doing. Now, okay, when you do these exercises, what sort of intensity should you perform these activities in? Well, there are a couple of different ways to gauge it. I can give you the real scientific way. Some of you like formulas, and you like that real quantifiable means of keeping track. And I'll tell you that easily. You can take the number 220, subtract your age, and that will be your theoretical max heart rate. When you exercise, you want to be somewhere between 60 and 80% of that theoretical max heart rate. So all you have to do is multiply your theoretical max heart rate by 0.6 to get the lower end, and then by 0.8 to get the upper end of your target heart rate. And that's what that is, your target heart rate. Other ways that you can do it by the rating of perceived exertion. In our cardiac rehab clinic, we use kind of a little bit more scientific approach. It's called the Borg Scale, the Borg Scale of RPE, rating of perceived exertion. And it's numbers that are from 6 to 20. So when you're performing an exercise in cardiac rehab, we'll ask you on every exercise what your intensity is, or how hard does that exercise feel to you. And it's based on that scale between 6 and 20. 6 being something easy, you're sitting on a couch watching TV, to 20, which is the hardest thing you've ever done. And that's the Borg RPE scale. And on that scale, you should be exercising somewhere around the 12 or 13 level. Or you can do it a little bit more simple. You can just give yourself a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being no exertion at all, 10 being the hardest thing you've ever done. And so you want to exercise somewhere between the 6 and 7 level. That's pretty simple, and that's a good way to do it. Now, on the market, of course, there are several fancy gadgets that you can buy that you can wear on your wrist to monitor your heart rate. And that heart rate will go perfectly along with the 220 minus your age after you establish your target heart rate zone. A lot of the watches that are out there now, they will have you establish that before you put the watch on your wrist. It'll ask you what your age is, and then it will automatically program the watch to give you your target heart rate zones. And when you go out on your exercise, if you're not in that target heart rate zone, it will beep. And if you're over your target heart rate zone, it will beep again to tell you to ease down. And so those are ways to maintain the intensity of that exercise, or just to make sure you're getting the most out of that exercise. Are there any questions out there? Maya, are we?
Hi, Mike. Yeah, so I do have a couple of questions that
Sure.
have come in that I wanted to ask you. And one was about if you've had a heart attack and you are starting to work on now, exercising and sort of getting back into it. I think people are concerned about their risk of having another heart attack, maybe if they are exerting, exerting during exercise. Is that, do you see that? Is that a common thing?
Yes, it is. Now, okay, I'm glad you asked that, because that is one reason why cardiac rehab is there. It's to help you through that transition phase post cardiac intervention, whatever that is, a stent or coronary artery bypass grafts or anything like that. And what we do is we monitor you while you start that initial phase. In fact, it's called phase two. Phase two of recovery. Phase one is immediately post surgery, you are in the hospital. Phase two is when you come to cardiac rehab and you start that active phase of building your cardiovascular system back. And so, one of the reasons why people are in cardiac rehab is to help them along so that we monitor. We actually gauge the amount of activity that you're doing to make sure that you are not going to have any other issues post intervention. But yes, I mean, I I don't want to sugarcoat it. I heard this the other day from an ICU nurse. I don't want to sugarcoat it. I'm not a baker. So, but what I do want to say is that there are a lot of people that are at risk out there for any sort of coronary intervention. And unless you start doing something, your risk of developing another coronary issue is actually greater than if you're not doing activity. So just starting out little bit by little bit, if you're not in a cardiac rehab program, get in one. If you have the opportunity, if you are, on the thought of having some sort of coronary intervention, seek out the closest cardiac rehab facility to you so that you can get that process as well, so that you can get more information about your particular condition. The other thing is stay in contact with your cardiologist. All the cardiologists I know are fantastic. They are great conversationalists. They will talk to you about what you should do in your next steps post coronary intervention.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And what about, I had a question about cholesterol.
Sure.
And if you have a high BMI, can you have a normal cholesterol level?
Yes, you can. Yes,
Okay.
you can. They are not, cholesterol and BMI, they're not related.
Okay.
BMI is simply, it's a anthropomorphic measurement, looking at your height and your weight. BMI, body mass index, basically is showing, are you tall enough or are you too short for the weight that you're carrying? And really, that's all that's saying. It's not saying anything about the components of your blood whatsoever. But if you do have a normal cholesterol, good on you. That's great. Eat healthy, exercise, continue doing what you're doing.
Okay. So I was going to say the follow-up question was, if you have a normal cholesterol but a higher BMI, should you still be concerned and be trying to maybe take that weight off?
Yes, definitely. Always be concerned about getting to a healthy weight. High cholesterol is only one risk factor. Only one risk factor. There are several risk factors that can lead to coronary artery disease. One of those risk factors is having a high BMI or carrying a high amount of body weight for your age, for your gender, for your size, definitely.
Okay, so as I know, we've sort of been discussing all month through Heart Month, there are several risk factors that people need to consider to keep their heart healthy. This is just one component of it.
This is just one component. Yes, it is.
And what about when we talk about exercise, is it important to vary your routine so that you are including resistance, cardio, weights each day? Or what's your recommendation for somebody who may be, looking to do some exercise? What would be best?
So first of all, is just be consistent. Be consistent with your activity. Yeah, I don't care what activity you're doing. You might swim on Monday. You might run on Wednesday. You might ride your bike on Friday. That's fine and dandy. I approve of all of that. But there are, when you really start getting into the world of exercise, and if you really want to progress your exercise, really establish your aerobic base. After you establish your aerobic base, then you can start thinking about some resistance training. And then after you do that resistance training, start thinking about your flexibility. There's so many components to fitness that everybody should work on once they get to that point. You don't have to start trying to work on everything all at once, but when you vary your exercise as well, it adds another level of excitement to the exercise too. You don't have to do the same thing every day. You do not have to do that. But by the same token, if you want to do the same thing every day, that's fine too. If you want to go for a walk every day, go on your walk every day. That's great. That's fantastic. Get out there, do something. But if you want to progress your exercise, I completely agree with that too. And so, after you establish that real basic process of getting into a routine of exercise, then start thinking about, okay, what can I do to take it to the next level? Always challenge yourself. Your body loves to be challenged, and it responds very well to that challenge.
So if you're doing the same thing every day, then you may not necessarily see. I know I've always heard, and I don't know whether this is true or not, but you shouldn't always necessarily do the same thing, but try to vary it up a little bit so that your body is doing some different things each day.
That is true. That is true. Yes. Okay. From an exerciser standpoint, from the basic getting out there and doing something.
Whatever you like.
Whatever you want. Whatever you want. Yes. Right.
Obviously, something that you love is better than doing nothing. So that's important.
Exactly. And, some people have a hard time finding just one exercise to do. And if I were to sit here and say, well, once you found that one exercise, sorry, you can't do that every day. You got to do something else tomorrow. I don't want to say that, because nobody wants to say that. Nobody can say that, because, there's some things I enjoy doing every day too.
Right. Yeah. If you don't enjoy planks and you're telling somebody, then that might be a problem. So
right. Exactly.
Can you talk a little bit more about resistance training? I've got a slide up here about that, and actually the next one, just what resistance training can do, and then the types of exercises somebody might be interested in doing.
Yes. So resistance training. Oh boy. So, once again, we were just talking about varying your exercise. Most of the exercise that we do in cardiac rehab is there to build your cardiovascular system. But once your cardiovascular system is built, then you can start adding this resistance training. And what does resistance training do for you? Well, first of all, it builds your muscle mass. Your muscle mass actually really governs what we call our BMR, our basal metabolic rate, meaning that if you have a higher muscle mass, that means your basal metabolic rate is going to be a little bit higher, because muscle really drives your metabolic rate. And the more muscle mass you have, the higher metabolic rate you're going to have. The more calories you're going to burn per hour while you're just sitting watching TV, which is great. It helps you to maintain your weight as well. Now, the other thing that resistance training does is it actually helps you to increase your bone density. And I know I've talked about osteoporosis on one of these talks, and I've talked about weight-bearing types of activity. Resistance training is one of those weight-bearing types of activity to increase your bone density. And of course, increasing your bone density helps us to stave off osteoporosis, which can become a problem in the later years of our life. But starting off with a higher bone density means later in life, you're going to lose less bone mass. Now, you can start off with your resistance training. You don't need a fancy gym. You don't need hundreds of dollars worth of weight training equipment. You can do resistance training, first of all, first and foremost, just simply with your body weight. Your body weight exercises, push-ups, these other things called, oh my gosh. Well, anyways, I'm going to move on because the name escapes me right now. Dips, sorry, dips. Sitting dips where your hands are on a chair and you're just lowering your upper body down and pushing back up. Those are called dips, and those are great exercises. And then once you get past just the simple body weight exercises, then you can look at things like resistance cords or stretch cords, resistance bands. And resistance bands and stretch cords can be picked up almost anywhere. I know at one time we had resistance bands here at TMC for seniors. I don't know if we still have those. I don't know where they are, but they're around somewhere. But Target, Walmart, almost any place. Can I say Amazon? I guess I can say Amazon. You can go onto the Amazon website right now, right today, right this minute, and they'll be at your doorstep by 8 o'clock tonight. And you don't even have to leave your house. But I totally recommend stretch bands, stretch cords to start that weight training program. Or I use them still, and I use weights. I still use stretch bands and stretch cords. I'm sure there'll be another talk later on down the road about, how you can use these stretch bands and stretch cords. I've done it before, and I have a 7.5-minute workout that's available through TMC. It might be on one of the websites. I'm not sure, but I know it came out a few years back. And I know I still have handouts on it. But this 7.5-minute workout utilized stretch bands, and you could do the complete workout in 7 minutes, 7.5 minutes. And so it actually, did away with that question of, I don't have enough time. Oh, there's plenty of time to get in a good resistance workout. But yeah.
And what about weights? I know, some sort of weight training these days with folks at home that may not have weights. I know I've heard use canned goods or
yeah.
a milk jug.
Oh, yes, perfect. So things like canned goods, a can of beans, soda can. Just be careful. But don't do the 12-ounce curl, if you know what I mean. But anything that will provide you some sort of resistance. About 10 years ago, I came out with the backyard workout. And the backyard workout involved utilizing some bricks that I found in the backyard, some rocks that I found in the backyard, and a wooden board that I actually used as well. I used no commercial weights at all, but I had plenty of resistance that I needed to do that exercise session. And it was called the backyard workout. So yes, utilizing things like milk jugs. And one good thing about milk, and I'm talking about the plastic milk jugs with the screw cap, not the cardboard ones, or even the glass ones. You don't want to use the glass ones. But the plastic ones with the screw caps, the real neat thing about these is you can add water or take water out of them to mediate the amount of weight that you want as resistance. And that's fantastic. That's a great way and they have nice little handles on them that you can hold in your hand to use at your convenience. Now, gosh, what was another thing? What else? What else is a good thing for resistance? Well, canned goods, anything. And a lot of the canned goods, it'll have the weight of the product written right on the can so that you know how much weight you're lifting. Things like that.
Great. Those are good options, I think, especially for folks that are at home right now.
Yes.
Who may not have access to, buying a weight set or looking for a little extra
right
in their exercise.
Yes.
So basically,
books are good too.
do anything that you love, whether it's walking, hiking, getting in the pool, any form of exercise is you're advocating for. It's just get going, get your heart going.
Exactly. Any exercise that you enjoy doing. Some of the things that I will caution you about, though, is making sure that you're staying hydrated, making sure that you are keeping track of the time that you're spending out there, making sure that you're monitoring yourself some way, shape, or form, either by how you're feeling, by your heart rate, or just anything. We live in Tucson. Sometimes the temperature gets too hot. Making sure that you're not exercising when it's too hot outside, making sure you're exercising when making sure it's not too cold outside as well. Make sure that your exercise area is safe. If you're exercising in your home, make sure you have an open area, because exercise sometimes, and heaven forbid there is a fall, but you want to make sure you have room around you in case there is a loss of balance, so that you're not falling on something. The other thing is, when you're exercising outdoors, make sure the area that you're exercising in is safe as well. Make sure there's no traffic, either bicycle traffic or motorized traffic, like cars or motorcycles or anything like that, that might cause some sort of danger or some sort of injury as well. Just make sure you're safe when you are exercising.
Great, thank you. So I think those are all the questions that I have, Mike, that have come in, and I appreciate you being here today. I think we will look and see if we can find your 7-minute workout. I will go ahead and share that for everyone who had registered for the class, and that way they can see those exercises. You also had done something for us in the fall regarding safeguarding towards falls and exercise.
Yes.
And so we do have a short video that we might be able to also send along with that information too.
Right. So I would like to say one thing, and it's because I am with TMC Cardiac Rehab. If in the event that you do have a coronary intervention, please seek out TMC Cardiac Rehab, because we are there to get you started back to your normal life. We want to make sure that you are confident. We want to be confident. We want your cardiologist to be confident that you are safe to continue with whatever exercise or whatever endeavors you want to continue doing. And that's what cardiac rehab is all about. You come to cardiac rehab, you wear a monitor. You wear basically an EKG monitor the whole time you're there. We're watching your EKG and we're looking out for any sort of abnormalities or arrhythmias that might indicate some issue. And so that's what cardiac rehab is all about.
And I'm sure that is also a reassurance for the patient that is in there as well.
Definitely.
To feel a little more reassured about when they're exercising and just getting back, started again. So referrals really happen when they're in the hospital.
Yes, and so the thing that happens in the hospital is a member of our cardiac rehab team will usually see you when you're in the hospital. If you're in, I'm just going to say that we will see patients in the hospital and we write the referrals. If in the case there is somehow that you get missed, typically your cardiologist will write that referral for you.
Okay.
But other than that, if you have your stent somewhere else, like St. Joe's or St. Mary's or Banner, well, they also have cardiac rehab. And I'm going to tell you that they have cardiac rehab too. But we are TMC.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mike. We really appreciate you being here with us to share and sort of wrap up our Heart Month. And we look forward to having you back soon. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. All right. You guys